Welcome to the Jerry Bovino Show. And now, here's Jerry.
Jerry Bovino, we're back with the Aspen Antique Week, and we have two fabulous guests, Tiffany boys right out of New York City, the Big Apple, and they're here for the Antique Show right over at the Ice Garden all week long. Lary Matlick. Larry, welcome to the show, our cool guy.
Thank you.
And bachelor number two, Ben Macklowe.
Don't say that to my wife.
The heir apparent to the Macklowe Gallery fortunes. So, if one thing is now you have Matlick and Macklowe. How did Macklowe get the name? What was the deal?
Well, Macklowe is his dad. And his dad and mom were in business doing antiques out of their home. They did shows, and they traveled here to there. And one day they had a great idea of opening a gallery. And that's where Lary Matlick came in. We opened the gallery on Madison Avenue in 1971, called Macklowe Gallery.
The year I graduated from medical school, I remember it well. And you're Larry with one R. What's the story there?
That's a long story, but if you'd like to hear it, I'll
I
tell
want
you.
to hear the story.
Well over 40 years ago, I was in the printing business. And the field of printing I was in was advertising typography. And in typography, we used a machine called a linotype machine. That was a machine with a keyboard. And when you hit a key, an escapement would open, and down would come that letter. On any of the ads that I personally worked on, I put my name on the heading of that ad, so you could always find the person who was doing that for revisions. Well, I'd hit the Larry with two R's twice, but only one R came out of the escapement because I hit it too rapidly. And so therefore, half of my jobs looked like I couldn't spell my name.
Perfect.
So I said, there has to be a solution. The easiest solution was to drop one R, and therefore I was always right.
There you go. That's a great story. I love those little stories. Okay, now Ben, you are the second generation in the Macklowe dynasty.
It's my job not to screw everything up.
Really?
Yeah.
How has it been? How long have you been involved in the business?
Well, I sort of fell in backwards in 1994. I had graduated from college with a degree in liberal arts, French major. I'd gone to Baltimore to teach elementary school with Teach for America. Failed pretty miserably there. Tried very hard and didn't do a very good job.
Why? Why was it so difficult?
You know, Jerry, do you remember your first year of medical school?
Yes.
Can you imagine that if they had taken you the first month of your first year of medical school and put you in charge of triage in a big city emergency room?
Yeah, I wouldn't have
you
known what I was doing. Right, I would have sucked at it.
Well, that was me.
Okay.
Huh. I had no education background. I had 35 kids reading below grade level who were coming to school with ringworm. They hadn't eaten properly. They weren't dressed properly. I did my best, and I mean, I don't say I failed completely, but I certainly didn't do the job I wish I had.
And then how did you evolve into the gallery? How long have you been in the gallery?
After 2 years in Baltimore, I came back to New York, and I was rooting around for something to do, and I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. And fortunately for me, my father was traveling for work, and Larry and two of the other people in the gallery came down with the flu. Now, this man is never sick. We call him Iron Man. That's actually his nickname, because he used to do Ironman triathlons.
Really?
And yeah. And so my mom just called me up and she said, Ben, would you just put on a suit and be a warm body? Because I'm not going to be able to open up the store otherwise because there's no one to open, to work up front with me. So I said, sure. So I came in and I knew nothing about antiques or jewelry. I mean, I thought I did, but now I realize I knew nothing. And Mom was working with somebody, and a guy rings the doorbell, and he comes in and he starts looking at things, and I'm showing him things, and I really don't know what I'm doing. But I sold him something. And I even remember the guy's name. And I remember how much I sold it for.
Your first sale. Did you get a little rush?
Oh, my God. I was trembling. It was like I'd just gotten off a roller coaster. It was $800, by the way.
Okay, there you go.
But it was great. It was great. And so I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. So, I hung around for a couple of weeks. Everybody got better. I kept hanging around. I still wasn't sure what I was going to do. And my mom took me aside. She said, Ben, you've been around here for a little while, and, we like having you here, but if you want to work here, you actually have to learn something, and you have to, be of use to us. And so one thing led to another, and I started to really get into it.
So your story reminded me of the guy who has a clothing store, a Jewish guy has a clothing store on the Lower East Side, and he has a son who's not too smart, so he keeps him in the store, but he gives him no authority. One day he's got to go to lunch, right? So he tells his son, look, I've got to be gone for an hour. If anybody comes in, look at the price, sell them the garment for the price. So anyway, the father goes to lunch. He comes back. He says to the son, how'd we do? He says, well, I sold that coat. The father said, which coat? The son says the one for $1.99. He says, schmuck, that was $199. He says, but that's all right, we still made $1. Okay, so what do you guys think of Aspen? You've been here a lot. I mean, you like this town?
Well, the first time I've been to this town was in the mid-1960s. I remember skiing here, loving it, and went on to another place, I won't mention the name, they're down the road a piece, and it was the year after they opened, actually. So that's how long I've been out here.
Well, friends don't let friends ski Vale, you know that.
But Larry, you should tell Jerry the story you just told me, how you thought you might open up a business here.
This goes back many years ago. My wife and I came out here with, I believe, a 2-year-old. And we're skiing Aspen, and my wife said, gee, it's nice here. And I said, I love it here. I think I'd like to stay here. And she said, what do you mean? I said, let's open a business. Let's get into something where we could live here. She says, oh, no. And I said, what do you mean, oh, no? She said, I want to live near the water. I said, what does that mean? They have water here. She says, no, I mean the ocean. And that was the end of that. We never
did it.
Yeah.
Well, when I came here the first time in '72, I think, and I loved it. I got off the plane. This is my place, but I had no money. And so I had to go to work. A grim thought. But I always said someday we're going to move back to Aspen, and we were fortunate. You know, it's a broken clock is right twice a day, and it just worked.
What year did you get here?
'72 originally, but I've been back and
you moved
forth.
Back? Okay, I got you.
And you when did you start coming here?
Well, I was lucky enough to come here skiing in 1985. Loved it, but I hadn't been back all that much because I'm not a big skier. Sorry, everybody. But we came here 3 summers ago. I love it here.
Yeah, it's
I could
beautiful.
spend 3 months here without the slightest problem.
And the best part of Aspen is the people are nice, and you'll find everybody's nice.
everybody's
There's
very
no reason
laid
not
back.
to be. They're hiking, they're biking, they're
Everyone's in a good mood.
I had been here many, many times, but only in the winter. And people used to tell me it's fabulous here in the summer. I said, how much better could it be than it is in the winter? And then I came here for the show last year.
The classic
I
story
couldn't believe
is-
it. I could not believe.
I came for the winter but stayed for the summer. That's what Aspen people will tell you. So here's what we're going to do. We have a great show today. We're going to talk about all these really cool, antique, lampy kind of jewelry kind of stuff. But first, we have to take a second to recognize the underwriters who very generously support us here at Grassroots Television. The Macklowe Gallery in New York City, Madison Avenue, right across the street from Barney's on 61st. And they have all kinds of cool stuff. I just was there. They're friendly, and come in and say hello to Larry and Ben, and I'm sure you're going to have fun when you get there. Bishop Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning right here in Aspen. David Bovino, Bovino and Associates. David and Summer Woodson have a law practice right above the Louis Vuitton store across from Jimmy's, and they specialize in complex litigation, transactional work, and real estate. MS Rao Antiques down on Royal Street in New Orleans. Say hello to Bill and Robbie when you're there. Say hello to Philip too, or go to their website, msrao.com, or maybe msraoantiques.com. And finally, Basalt Quick Loop. So we take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to teach you the ins and outs of the antique business, the things to avoid, fakes, real stuff. We're coming right back.